Hello there, I'm Jimmy Vegas, and yes, Resident Evil 9 has officially been announced. Known as Resident Evil Requiem, it's quite obvious that it is Resident Evil 9. There was little hints in that trailer that we saw that point to it being 9, with the Q being a 9. I thought that was kind of cool. And before we go any further, I want to just say that this video thumbnail title is not clickbait. It may seem like clickbait, but it genuinely is not clickbait. I am genuinely going to talk to you about things that have got me a bit worried about Resident Evil Requiem. Let's start by how it all came to be. Well, if you watch Summer Game Fest, you'll have noticed the little hints throughout the whole video, throughout the whole stream, that there was something Resident Evil related. And halfway through, we got them saying, it's not ready yet. We're not ready yet. Wait a little bit longer. And I suspect quite a few people would have turned off from Summer Game Fest at that point because they were so hyped for Resident Evil being there. And when they saw that, they thought, oh, forget it. Turn it off. Go do something else. Go to bed. Go get dinner, whatever. This is one of the best trolls I've ever seen in gaming. Absolutely unbelievable. Because at the end of Summer Game Fest, we got Resident Evil Requiem. And look, I am going to say right now, it looks amazing. As a long-time Resident Evil fan, literally since the beginning, it looks fantastic. And I don't know whether anyone else picked up on it, but Leon and Jill, their voices were definitely there in that trailer. So they are going to be in the game, I have no doubt about that. Let's start with the good in all of this. It looks amazing. You play as Grace Ashcroft, I assume, and she must play a huge part in this game. And if you don't really know, there is a lot of lore around the Ashcrofts and Spencer and how it all began, where it came from. And by the looks of the trailer, we're going back to Raccoon City, which I think is a very good move for Capcom. It sounds absolutely brilliant. And there was a scene in there where you saw a big, massive crater. So quite clearly, this takes place several, probably decades after the events of Resident Evil 3. Now, at this point, I know I'm not giving away spoilers because everyone knows what happens to Raccoon City. If you played Resident Evil, you know what happens at the end of Resident Evil 3, whether it is the original or whether it is the remake. The bomb falls, boom, Raccoon City is obliterated. And there is a shot, which there is a massive crater. And in all fairness, when this trailer started, I don't think any of us knew that this was going to be Resident Evil because we'd previously been told it won't be here. Even in the stream, we were told it wouldn't be here. But as it got on, there was little hints which made me think, hang on, this kind of looks like something in the RE engine. And when you look back, it really does look like the RE engine. You can just tell by how it looks. But it goes on a little bit further, a little bit further, a little bit further. And suddenly you see these things and start thinking, this looks just like Resident Evil. This could be Resident Evil. And the thing that did it for me is I was already suspicious at this point, but when it flashed up on screen with the RPD, with the D broken, I knew that's it. We've been trolled. This is Resident Evil 9. And it turns out it is Requiem. So it kind of seems like it's wrapping up everything all together. And I think that's a very smart move by Capcom because they want to wrap up the beginning and the end together and perhaps move on. And it's been rumoured that that is going to be the case. But doing this, you know, Resident Evil coming out in February next year before GTA 6, that's also a very good move. I think it's a great time for Capcom to start looking back at the franchise and giving us things like Resident Evil 0 remake, Resident Evil Code Veronica remake, a remake of the remake. I think that would be really, really good in the style of something like Resident Evil 4 remake. So we spoke about the good. It looks fantastic. I honestly can't wait to play it no matter what happens with the game. But all through the trailer, I was hyped. We come back to Jeff Keighley, I was still massively hyped. And I think we all were. We all so hyped. We were just absolutely blown away that we'd finally seen Resident Evil. And that's the problem. That is why I'm worried and why this is why things are not good. When we came back to Jeff Keighley, we were all still blown away. Keep that in mind. I was as well. And I don't think some of us caught what Jeff Keighley says. Now, I've written down the exact quote he says. This marks a bold shift in tone and gameplay. What does that mean, Jeff? He also then goes on to say, it isn't just about survival horror, expect high-stakes cinematic action. Right. Okay. Capcom. Is this going to be like Resident Evil 6? Don't do this. Do not do this. Are you telling me that Resident Evil Requiem, because it marks a bold shift in tone and gameplay, and there's high-stakes cinematic action, you're pulling a Resident Evil 6 on us. Don't do this, Capcom. Oh my goodness, I genuinely hope this is not what happens. Everyone who's anyone who likes Resident Evil, I would say 95% of the people want the survival horror aspect, and we crave that survival horror aspect. Whether it is like Resident Evil 7 Biohazard and Resident Evil Village, or whether it is like the original trilogy back in 1996 to 1999, or whether it is like the remakes. That's survival horror to me. What isn't survival horror is Resident Evil 6 and Resident Evil 5 to a degree. They are high-stakes cinematic action. Would you agree? I'm sure you would agree. And would you also say that Resident Evil 5 and 6 marked a shift in tone and gameplay? I would say that as well. So in my eyes, the idea of Jeff saying that Resident Evil Requiem marks a shift in gameplay, tone, and there's high-stakes cinematic action, does that not scream to you that this is going to be like Resident Evil 6? Resident Evil 6 was okay. I probably liked it more than most people, I'm not going to lie. I didn't mind it. But I know the majority, the overall verdict of it was terrible. Resident Evil 6 was not a failure, but it could have been so much better to a lot of people. Which is why we ended up with Resident Evil 7 Biohazard. That marked a significant change in tone and gameplay from the series at that point. And it did. Because the series, after Resident Evil 6, was very action-oriented. It was very cinematic. And that's what worries me. I don't want to go back to that. And I'm sure you don't want to go back to that. Now, be honest with me. Did you miss Jeff Keighley saying those words? I think a lot of people did. And if you watch just the Resident Evil Requiem trailer, it doesn't, Jeff Keighley isn't in that. So if you'd not seen Summer Game Fest and you'd only seen the trailer, you wouldn't know that there would be a bold shift in tone and gameplay. You also wouldn't know that it isn't just about survival horror. Expect high-stakes cinematic action too. This was only mentioned at Summer Game Fest. Now, is this Jeff Keighley being dramatic for the sake of being dramatic, or is he genuinely correct? That is what really, really worries me. I want Resident Evil Requiem to be much more like Resident Evil 2 Remake, 3 Remake, less so 3 Remake, I guess, but more like 2 and quite possibly 4. But I would also love to see Resident Evil Biohazard in there as well. Just those meshed together, I think would be the perfect balance for Resident Evil, and it genuinely seems like it could be. But those words from Jeff, please try and convince me in the comments that I'm overreacting. Like I said, this isn't clickbait. It's not meant to be clickbait. This is genuinely me concerned for how Resident Evil Requiem could turn out based on what Jeff Keighley said. But please convince me otherwise in the comments. I'm still going to get it day one. I'm still going to play it, and I'm still going to enjoy it no matter what, because the story, I think it's all about the story really, and how this is all going to be intertwined together and bring so many references back full circle, and it will make sense to a lot of long-time Resident Evil fans like me, but I just don't want it to be like Resident Evil 6, so please convince me that I'm overthinking it. Please do. Anyway, also let me know in the comments what you thought of, well, Summer Game Fest in general. I'm going to have some more videos coming up today, because for me it was on late last night, and I'm just kind of catching up now. You know, I watched it, went to bed, written all my notes this morning, got all my stuff ready for recording these videos. So there'll be a couple of videos popping up over the next couple of days, because there were some good games at Summer Game Fest. I think it was better than State of Play, if I'm honest. It was really, really good. But yeah, do let me know in the comments what you think of Resident Evil Requiem, what you thought of Summer Game Fest just in general, and also, just like I say, convince me I'm overreacting. There'll be some videos hanging around somewhere on the screen right now if you fancy clicking one of those and watching another video. There's also a little subscribe down below if you fancy clicking that and seeing more content like this, because I would genuinely appreciate it if you came back and watched more of my videos. Anyway, until the next one, thank you very much for watching and take care.